We are told from a young age that beauty is a blessing and ugliness is a curse. But history rarely tells us the cost of either. In the early 1900s, a woman stood on a stage in Coney Island, surrounded by a crowd that roared with laughter. They called her a monster. They called her the ugliest woman in the world. But behind that mask was a secret. This wasn't a choice, and it wasn't a joke. It was a calculated, painful sacrifice made by a mother who realized that her dignity was the only thing left she could sell to keep her children alive. This is the story of Ann Bevan, and it will change the way you define beauty forever. Before the world turned her into a spectacle, Ann Webster was ordinary. Born in East London in 1874, she was one of 8 children. She was a woman of grace, working as a nurse, a profession defined by compassion and care. At 29, she married Thomas Bevan. By all accounts, they were a happy family. They had 4 children. Life was typical, modest, and full of hope. But shortly after her marriage, the shadow began to fall. It started with migraines, then muscle aches. Then her hands and feet began to grow disproportionately. This was acromegaly, a rare condition where the body produces too much growth hormone. Today, it's treatable. In 1905, it was a slow, agonizing transformation that no one could fully understand. As her features thickened and her jaw lengthened, the world began to pull away. But the physical pain was nothing compared to the emotional blow that came in 1914. Her husband, Thomas, died suddenly. Mary was left with 4 children, a failing body, and a society that had no place for a woman who looked like her. Employers wouldn't hire her. Neighbors whispered. The pantry went empty. The debt grew. She had 2 choices: watch her children starve in the slums of London, or use the very thing that was destroying her life to save theirs. She entered a Ugliest Woman contest, not out of vanity, but out of desperation. She won. The prize money fed her family for months, but it caught the eye of showmen across the Atlantic. She was recruited by the Dreamland Circus in Coney Island. She crossed the ocean, leaving her home to be a freak. For years, she stood on display. People would scream, mock her, and call her names to her face. She took every insult with a silent, stoic grace. She wasn't just a performer. She was a businesswoman. She sold postcards of her face. Why? Because every postcard sold meant a better education for her sons. Every ticket bought meant a future for her daughters. She traded her shame for their survival. Ann Bevan died in 1933 at the age of 59. Her final request was to be buried in England. She wanted to go home, not as a circus act, but as a mother who had finished her job. For decades, her image was used on cruel greeting cards and in jokes. But in recent years, the world has started to look closer. We don't see the ugliness anymore. We see the muscle of motherhood. We see a hero who looked into the eyes of a cruel world and said, "Laugh at me all you want, as long as my children are safe." The next time you judge a book by its cover, remember Mary, because sometimes the most beautiful things in the world are hidden behind the scars of sacrifice.